I'm Stephen Fairhurst, here in central Beijing along Liangma riverside. Back in 2018, I was the landscape architect, the planner, master planner for this riverside. And it's always good to come back and take a look at what has been happening. There's been a lot of publicity about the project, both locally and also in national TV media. The area has seen a lot of changes. This video is not going to go into the details of the history and all that, which has already been covered. It's to look at the design perspective and how we enjoyed that process. Let's go. In this, one of the busiest cities in the world, the mental, social, physical health of the local people is really important, and that became also one of our major goals of the project. Back in 2018, the river was still undergoing a massive improvement in the upgrading of the water quality. The park was functioning locally, but it was in really poor condition, and that is the challenge that was given to us by the client, Chaoyang District Government and the Water Affairs Bureau. The main attribute of the river was obviously the existing large trees, all of which we decided had to be conserved. As we see today, the challenges have been met, and it's starting to be quite an ecological corridor in Beijing. In the analytical process for the river, the land use, the surrounding land use was really important, and access, the potential users of course. Also the height differences on the embankments and so on. Very early in the decision making, we realised there was no need for massive, expensive new constructions. It was how to integrate the existing landscape into a new and profound green corridor. So that is the basic background for our whole goal for this project. We're starting our riverside walkabout here at the Solana shopping mall. The whole of this area used to be one big car park, and the main concern that we had here was how to transform into a really beautiful park, something that the mall benefits from and which brings together the river and the mall. The bridge, pedestrian bridge, was existing. That we used as an axis joining the north bank to the south bank into the mall, and this design gradually moved out from that central point. We're still in the first section of the river here near Solana Mall. The height differences here between the riverside and the upper bank were of concern. So what we had to do here was look at an upper terrace for good views. The lower terrace was for getting close to the water. We also introduced, as you can see, curving elements, which was in incredible contrast to the old straight canal, giving a lot of interest. We are moving westwards along the riverside now into what is the narrowest of the design areas that we have. The height difference between the embankment and the river here, we decided to use that to our advantage to double up necessary extra pedestrian space. The cantilevered solution here is well used day and night. The terraced areas of the river generally give good contact with the water and upper views along the riverside. In following a strict policy that all sections of the riverside should have friendly accessibility, wheelchair ramps are included wherever possible, and here is a good example. We are now in one of the oldest hotel districts in Beijing. This part of the riverside needed flexibility of the relationship between the riverside spaces and the functions. One of the most important things was to have flexibility so that restaurants and cafes could emerge,
And as you see here today, that has been happening. We are now at the old sluice gate building, these days called Liangma Harbour. The decision to keep this building was clear, and all its multifunctional purposes. Still in the hotel district of Liangma, we are now in this beautiful area with the existing trees, which were essential to keep. We also have in the background what was an existing pedestrian bridge, which we also upgraded, and it's also quite nice in the evening with good lighting. Exhibition spaces, flexible space, good waterside planting. This is a very important part of the project. Here in the hotel zone, a lighting show has been introduced, which has had a great contribution to the tourism industry of this area. However, that show does not disturb the more local parts of the park to the west of here. Nighttime Liangma River, and this is a transformation from the day, of course, and several of the major features are highlighted. Urban regeneration and rejuvenation projects are never easy, and one of the main concerns, of course, is traffic. Vehicle traffic, cycle traffic, pedestrian access, the whole integrated concept. And of course, here on Liangma, this was one of our prime concerns. Beijing's inner ring road crossing the Liangma River here. One of the main concerns that we had was, how do we get people across this barrier from one section to the other? We realized that the engineering budget concerns at the time were formidable, but we did know and proposed that long-term solution could include underpass for people. And as you can see today, this has been achieved just 5 years later. Most of the foreign embassies of the world are located in this next section of Riverside. Also, with the extensive residential zones, this becomes a very prestigious area. Again, many existing mature trees needed to be protected. Retaining this area's existing multifunctional character and its ongoing future potential was the major issue. So, this embassy and residential central part of the river project became a focus of attention for good quality recreational spaces, a kind of a showcase. So the idea here was to retain all those existing functions, the fishing, the swimming, even the ice skating in winter, and upgrade the good recreational potential spaces all over, and including, again, keeping these amazing trees. We're now to the west of Shindonglu, and in this area, again, the width of the river was a little bit problematic. We would have needed more pedestrian space. So one of the solutions was to create walkway jetties on the river surface. And this allowed two things. First, get people close to the waterside to enjoy that contact. And second, within this design element, to create extensive waterside vegetation between the walkway and the riverbank. And also along the outer edge of the jetty walkway. Result: expanded biodiversity, habitat and social aesthetics. We're still here just to the west of the Shindonglu Bridge, and in this area we included a tent structure, shade for summertime, shelter at other times. The whole idea here was to exaggerate and lift the waterside vegetation. The idea of absolutely increasing as much as possible this biodiversity was paramount. Additionally, we loved the idea that people could walk on a continuous separated jetty
along the water side. This is one of my favourite parts of the whole project. We're now in a small branch of the river, and this was a rather neglected area originally and very, very polluted. The answer here was simple: keep the trees, improve the shoreline, small accessibility, very, very simple. We're getting towards the most western part of the project area, and again here we have this level change, but we needed, because of this amazing dense residential multifunctional area, we really needed activity space. This is a very successful play area, and you can see here also the shelters, good facilities. There are toilets, there is good ramps down to the riverside for wheelchair access. This is one of the most successful parts of the project, and again I'm very, very happy with this area. We're now at the most western part of the project area, almost. And this is what we call the Big Bend of the project. And we have here a series of fountains. This is a really good area. Not quite finished yet, but we are really happy that you have a feeling of anticipation as you go towards the end of this project area. The fountains start here, but they do continue to the end of this branch of the river. Again, keeping the existing trees was paramountly important. At our project's northernmost location, this grand series of terraces, fountains and a waterfall has become a major orientation and meeting point within the city. So that's our look at the different design areas. But what can we conclude after this walkabout? I'm very happy with the results of this project, happy with the client's receptivity and the resulting design. Happy with the design team, which had real focus, and I'm happy with the general construction level. It's been a great project in my 40th year in international consulting work. Yes, improvements can always be made over the coming years. It's also very important that good levels of maintenance are adhered to. China and the world needs more parks like Liangma Riverside. Recently, this park was upgraded to the name International Riverside Park, and that name is really warranted. I would like to thank AECOM Tianjin for my company ESF's sub-consultancy role in this project. I'd like to thank a receptive client and the contented users of this park. Enjoy the riverside.